Hello everybody and welcome to another tutorial in camera and lens repair. And this time I will take my old, which is a new version, an old Canon FD 50mm and 1.8. And I will try to clean the blades because there is something on the blades. Yes, that's true. Now, we need some tools, some lens sucker is absolutely great. This is from Japan Hobby Tool. This is an older from North Sun. I'm not quite sure you can get them today, but there you will find different lens suckers. So some tweezers. This is a stainless steel, non-magnetic, and this one is a special made, homemade, just from a normal tweezer. And I have simply put it, put the blades together, the end together, and simply file it so it's very, very thin. And it's actually great when working with the aperture blades when putting them in again in the aperture assembly. It's quite easy to make. Some dentist tool is also very handy. This is some old one, used, very used. And important thing is JIS crosshead screwdrivers. And we will need a 2.5mm, and you can, this is from Moody Tools, you can get them on ifixit.com, which I have bought them. And no, I am not paid by any or get some money from companies. No, I'm absolutely on my own. So the tools I buy, it's for my own money. Now, this is an old modified PH00. Yeah, I know it will not be a JIS, but since I filed the very pointed tip, it is very good to working with JIS screws. And it's very short compared to the other one, which is much longer. So sometimes it works, sometimes not. Some cotton buds and some isopropylalcohol, 99%. It's also very good. A lens cloth and a piece of plastic. Well, you think, wow, why? Well, you see, to get into the lens we need to go in from the front. And of course we'll also take off the mount. But to get into the aperture assembly, we need to get off the front here. And that I will begin with, because if I take off the mount here, the back of the lens is fully exposed. And it's more on the, let's say, it's more the back lens element will then come out. If we look here, it will, if you touch, just put it down on the desk, it will, there couldn't be set some mark, but so that's why I will wait a little to take off the mount and then take off the front. It will say the nameplate, the front lens group, and for that I will use my piece of plastic. You see, this nameplate made of plastic sits just when it pushed in, and it sits with some piece of plastic that press out on the front tube here. So to get it off, we need to have a kind of protection, and this is actually very soft and good plastic for that. And then I will use my dentist tool because I need to go into the gap between here, you see, and since it's plastic I can simply put my lens tool on here to protect the front lens, and simply get in and wipe the click free. And we can just do it again. So, and now it's off. There could be some glue or something like that, but there wasn't really not much in this lens, and it's not the kind of glue that is simply just like super glue. Now we need to take off this ring here with the 3 screws that actually hold the front lens group, and just so we have things in correct order when assemble, just set a mark here somewhere in line with the index mark, just so you know where things should sit. And of course also the lens here, set it on the edge of the lens plastic mounting, and then we will simply unscrew the 3 screws, and it will be, as you can see, it's all plastic, so it's not that hard to come into. I haven't taken out the aperture assembly out yet. I just take a sneak peek inside and just to determine what to do. Now, take off the plate here. Actually, you also have a mark here that I just recognize. This mark here is also in line with the index mark. But it's a good thing to just set a mark here, so you know where the lens should sit in line with the index mark, just so you have that in mind. So now we can just pop the lens out, or we could just use the lens sucker here, put it on, and then take it out. So that's quite simple. Put the lens somewhere it will not be doing anything wrong. And here we can see the aperture assembly with all the blades and so. And it looks like, I don't know yet, but the only thing I have done in here is actually just to make a scratch in here. So the tube in here, which is also plastic, and the assembly, part of this aperture assembly is also plastic, so make a scratch here. Important, because if you put it in wrong, you probably will have a wrong aperture value. So the 3 screws here will come out there, there, and there. As you might see, there are some screws from the other side, and it looks like it's the aperture pin, but it isn't. It's actually hold on to the back here, so maybe we also need to take off the back from getting out, but we'll do it anyway. So next thing to do is take off the mount. And we begin with setting the aperture ring to 22. So. And then there are 3 screws around here, one with the unlock push button, one there, on the up here with the almost in line with the aperture 22, the depth of field mark here, and on the lower part of, the bottom part of the lens. But to do this, it's more easy to simply just let's say unlock the lens just like it was sitting on the camera. So there are two pins, small pins here, one there, and there's one over here. So by pushing the one down here and then the next one, and at the same time push here, so you actually turn this, I mean the mount here itself, and then it should be quite easy. If not, we can just do it again here to unlock it, and then unlock this one. So, and then turn it. You see, this pin here is actually directly connected to the aperture ring. The other one is actually the connection from the camera's aperture pin in the mirror box. So now we are ready to actually take off the mount here, which we'll do. And keep a finger on here to the ring, because it will just have better control of what I'm actually doing. So there, and the last one. Now, so there, and off with the ring here, the metal, shiny metal ring, and again we can just lift it out with a dentist tool, or one can also just take a screwdriver and then pry it off like this. So, and see, one thing is, just to mention, this little tiny pin is actually in line with the red dot, just so you know it. And then we can just lift out the ring. So it looks like this. Nothing special about that. Now, to get off the mount, we can just take it off. But how to get it in again? Well, I'll just lift it off. But you see, there's one thing to know. If we look on the back here, the aperture ring sits to 22. And if I move it, nothing will really happen. See? Except the aperture ring will move. So this is why it actually is better to set the aperture ring to 22 when putting on the mount again. Because if this pin sits all the way up to here, the tension of the spring inside the aperture assembly, it will say the one you can probably see under here. So it's better to set this this pin to all the way down where it ends, and it will go to this point here. There. Then it will stop. And then it's actually easy to put in the mount. And of course, this pin is pushed this way because the spring will draw it back again like this. So to put in the mount, we need to push this pin here over there, and then put in the fork, look-alike, on the pin here, this pin. So first put it in on the fork. I know it's difficult to see, but hopefully you get it. It will go there, and then see the pin in here, the two pins, this one and this one, have to sit on each side of the other. I know how to explain, but it should sit like this, as you see here. So now put in the fork here and put it on the lens. Move it a little so it needs to come into correct position. So, and there it is. So now we can actually move the aperture simply, and if we can move it a little, one have to fiddle a little with the aperture ring to get it into correct position. But since you can see here, this pin will not move when I move the aperture ring, so something is wrong. Well, put it to 22 again. Well, it cannot because of stocks part in here, so we need to take it out again. It could also, I mean, there are some issues with this pin here. If this one has come up to here, let's say so, and you think, okay, I can put this this pin here on the side here, well, the aperture will not at all work. No matter how much you actually move the aperture ring, nothing will happen. So apart with it again, then release, open this and move the ring so it comes on the other side all the way up to there where it ends. And then we can actually put in the aperture, the mount. And the aperture ring has to sit on 22, something there. And then move this pin a little. And then find the fork here. And then release it. Maybe you have to move a little so it will sit correct, and the red dot will sit in line with the index mark. Something is wrong again. You see, it can sometimes be a problem to put in back things into place, but we'll do it anyway. Sits there. You can also move it all the way over to the red dot and maybe back and forth so it sits correct. So it should be there. No, something is wrong. So there, all the way over there, and should just sit there. Something is really wrong. No, it isn't. It sits correct. So what's the matter with this lens? Okay, we try again. This has to sit there and there. You see, it can sometimes be a problem. Yeah, one have to push in the push button and then so. And here we are. So there can be a little tinkering with the putting in the mount. So we'll just take it off again and then continue with the aperture system. I'm not quite sure how to when I unscrew the 3 screws here. I mean, yeah, 3 screws in here. What will happen? So, but let's see. I think there is something. Yeah, we'll just continue with this. See what's happened. It shouldn't be quite difficult to put it in again. But let's see what's going on. So now the 3 screws are out. And now what will happen then? Yeah, one can lift out the aperture assembly. There is some glue in here, or a kind of a thread lock or whatever it is, and we can just get rid of it. And just scrape it away. And now, what's happened then? See, there is something in here which we need to look at. What's actually happened? Maybe we need to take off this to actually get the aperture system out. But no, I'm not sure. Should be something, just push it out. Yeah, that's true. So it is. I don't know really what's happened here. It was just the glue here that was a bit stuck. So it was not a problem. And there are things to see here. The aperture actually have a pin that moves the assembly, and it will be this one here that on the other hand has connection to this cam look-alike. So this pin is actually the other side here, this one. It looks like there has been some water in this lens. Don't know when. Now, so this is the actual aperture assembly with the plates and the ring that moves the plates. So now it should be possible to come in and clean this rusty thingy. It could also be oil on the aperture, but is not the case here. Now, off the little tiny spring, and you can see it's open in both ends. There and there, so yeah, take care of it. Unhook it there, and we better unhook the spring and put it somewhere we can find it. So now the aperture blade is 3. So fully open is more easy to work, because then you can just take the all the blades out with the ring here. And remember which side the blades are sitting, and which side of the metal ring that moved the blades is sitting. So now, is there any hidden things we have to know? There shouldn't be any. This is only a cover plate. So now we can actually unscrew the 1, 2, 3 screws, and then the blades will fall out. Not really, but you know what I mean. So, I don't know where this rusty stuff comes from. And now I can lift off this plate. Remember how it sits. The gap here and the gap here. And of course the hole here for the pin that moved the pin in here that actually moved the blades. So just put it there and we can lift off the plate. Okay, I can hear it's made of metal. And here we are actually in the aperture plates. So let's see if we move it. This is how it works. Just amazing. So you can see they are hooked on to the outer ring here with one pin, and on the inner steady part. So let's jump them into something isopropylalcohol. So there, and then go on. Well, we could actually close it and see what's happened, and just lift off the plates. Sometimes it's a bit difficult how blades will put in again. So it will be a challenge to figure out. So let the blades have a shower. It looks like the blades are made of metal, and we can actually figure that out. Are they, or are they plastic? Well, it's actually made of metal. They are actually dirty, as I see it. Where's my dentist tool here? And then in with the blades. And the ring will of course also have a shower. So it's fine with a small container. And I will just try this rusty thing, or whatever it is, and also clean the area here. See, there are some dirt on it. Maybe it's difficult to see, but there are some. So, there. So you hopefully have an idea of what you're actually going into when cleaning the blades. It's not that hard. Now, a lens cloth is actually very good to clean the stuff here. and maybe not everything of this rust will disappear, but it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, if one wants to clean the lens and sell it, it's a different thing. But for now, it's actually nothing. Well, you see, if one wants to actually get rid of the rust or something, one can use a fiberglass pen to actually, it has this number, to simply clean off the rusty parts. All the small fibers can come into your skin, so it's good to have gloves on when working with this stuff. But it's a really good thing. So now that's clear. And then the aperture plate itself. It's all the same as I see it, so there shouldn't be anything special when putting them in. Doesn't really matter if there is some isopropylalcohol on the pins. Here it will evaporate quickly. And so, this is actually the longest part of this, and of course I also need to take some of the rusty stuff or whatever it is. And then a lens blower is absolutely great for this. And then it's time to put in the the plates in the aperture assembly here. So the ring should sit somewhere over here. So, and should be something like that. So one can actually put the plates on. So all the holes here are in line, and then it should be. Let's try this tiny lens sucker for this task. Or I could try to use my special tweezer, then put it in. Well, we probably have to do something else. That was not expected to be that. So, or we could just have it something like that. Add the plate. See, then you have a good control of what you're doing. First plate in, the next. So there. And the next. Okay, there. Sometimes it could be a little tricky to, you see, it can be a little tricky to actually catch the holes, but we will make it. There. The last blade is more tricky to put in, so let's see what's happened in this case. So there. Yeah, hits it there. Now, then the more tricky part comes to put in the last blade. But if I turn the aperture ring to close the aperture, so not there. I'll just zoom in a little. So now get ready with the last blade, because it has to go under the first blade. So let's see what will happen if I do something like that. It maybe will work, it maybe will not work. Yeah. So, no. I think I have to make me another tweezer that will make things like this easy. So I think we are almost there. Not yet. So there. And if I move the aperture a little, it hopefully will come into place. So now here we are. So it is on with this ring, which can only sit in one position. So it is there, and in with the 3 screws. And then the last screw. So it was different made than other aperture assembly. I mean, they're not the same, but you can see here we are on the right track again, and everything works more loose as they should. And then I can add this spring again. and those springs can be sometimes a little annoying to put in, so it's good with a pointy tweezer. So now we can see it's all fine, and then just put it back into the lens again. Make sure the little plastic pin here is engaged with this hole. If not, the aperture will not work. But I think we'll manage to put it in. And let's see if this tool can be very handy for this task. Yeah, it was actually fine. One have to figure out if the plastic thingy here on the back here should engage with the pin in here, and one have to maybe wiggle a little. And maybe if I open the blades a little, nah, we'll figure it out. We'll just put in some screws so we have a kind of hold of the parts here. Don't screw them in again until everything sits correct. So, and then we can try to play with the parts here, just to see if they will engage here. Yeah, here we are, and this will also hopefully work. Yeah, you see, now the pin here is on the other side of it should be over here. So I have to screw the aperture assembly in again. Oh, we just zoom out a little. So there, we do not tighten it yet, but then I have better hold of what's happened. So if I have a finger on this pin here, and at the same time move this pin out, and then we are actually on the right track again. So it looks like it works. Just to align, the mark here, which looks a little out of alignment. So just loosen the screws and try to align it a little, just a little. Something like that, and screw the screws in gently. It's plastic. You screw into, and now the aperture is actually back on track. Just put this pin here, so it's on the very end here, and then we can just put in the mount, and be sure the lens is set to infinity. It will make it a lot easier for you to catch the two pins here with the mount. And for you to make it easier, just load your screwdriver or screwdrivers with one or two screws, because then it will be easier to put the mount on. This pin here has to sit all the way down here. So, and then try to catch the pins. Maybe someone has to push on this button to get things into correct place. I cannot fully remember, but I think we'll do so. So the fork here will engage to this pin, and the other pin here will engage to this one. So let's get it on. There. And then should move it into correct place. Hopefully. So. One have to wiggle a little with this with the mount to get it into correct place. But now it's actually working. So hopefully you get the point. Or we can just take it out again, just to show it again. So this pin has to sit all the way up to the stop here. This pin will just sit as long as it can here. The fork here, and this, the fork will, this fork here will engage into this pin, and the other pin will go into here on this side. So now let's try it on again, and just push on the button to hopefully get into correct place and turn it little. I know it sounds crazy, a little, and then push down the mount. Then put on the metal ring, and there are two kind of notches here, kind of, and they have to sit with the button. So by push your fingers through it, hold it, and then put the ring on. Just be easier. And then try to catch the holes here in the mount. I mean on the side of the here, and then add a screw. So there. Then the next screw, and so we are safe home almost. We only need to put in the front lens group. So now everything is actually okay with the mount, I mean the aperture here. So that's it, and then on with the front lens. Where's my lens sucker here? And we can just, there are some small hairs in here. So, then in with the lens. So it sits there. If you want to align it a little, it's possible. And then on with the metal ring, the front ring. So it sits there. And then the 3 screws and the nameplate. So there. And the nameplate. I think it has to sit somewhere correct, but I haven't found out how. I would guess the name here should sit upwards. I mean, so you see it from the index mark here. So it will sit something like that. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right. But then press in the nameplate gently. It will click into place. And then we are done. So that was not that hard. So that was everything for me in this case. So see you next time in another lens repair tool tutorial. So bye bye.